It is the instant reaction for Everton 1, Newcastle United 4. Everton still in 19th in the Premier League, staring down the barrel of the first relegation in God knows how long. We have got a big table of Blues tonight. Everyone wants to get in on this big therapy session. We've got Keith, Les, Matt, Paul and Green Mick. Does anyone want to go first?
Go ahead,
Les is going to go first.
Brave man,
I mean, I'm still processing my thoughts after that, Les, but how are you feeling, mate?
Probably about as low as I've ever felt supporting Everton, which is quite a bold claim considering some of the shite we've seen. But I think this is as bad as it gets. It's not just that Goodison is very, very dead at the minute. Now there's been some stuff recently with people saying, what the fuck are the Park End doing getting off? I'm not ashamed to say I got off at 3-0 tonight, because anyone who stayed after 3-0, what is the point? You know, it's if you're just gonna stand there and passively watch that shite, there's literally no point in being there. Just get off, just go and do something. We're in the pub now doing this, just gone 10 o'clock. You know, it's not enjoyable, but it's nice to be with friends and drinking beer. It's better than being stood in there or standing getting the train now. So I would just say that's my thing. That while that team are so shit and they're so devoid of not just any ability, any fucking fight, there's no point standing there and passively watching that play out. You knew it at 2-0, we all knew we weren't getting back into it. At 3-0, we definitely weren't. And then even when McNeil scored the 3-1, I was just on my way out when that happened. Newcastle scored straight away to make it 4-1, because there's no fight in this team. In years gone by, I don't want to sound like one of them people, but in the past, let's say, yeah, we've had good times. But let's just say, like under Moyes, you look at like Man United 3-1, we pull it back to 3-3. Games like that. This isn't going to happen with this team. And I think Matt's going to have something to say about the manager, but I'm also very, very disenchanted with this manager as well, because, you know, at that point in the game where I think it was a 2-0 and then it just went to 3, and he brings Mopé on. Damari Gray still hasn't been on the pitch at all. He brings Mopé on ahead of him or Sims, and at 70 minutes it's too late. It's way too late to be trying to, you know, make changes to a game where they've been pretty much in control without being spectacular. So I just think there's so much wrong, and I genuinely think we're doomed.
I mean, just quickly, while we're on the manager, we started there, and he is getting it now. leaving Ben Godfrey on there is genuinely one of the worst, like, ongoing decisions in a game I've ever seen. Like, that lad died a slow death on the football pitch tonight, and he didn't change him, he didn't change the system, he didn't change the player in front of him. Ben Godfrey was horrendous, and he's clearly not a right back. We've known that for a long time, but to do nothing about that situation for the entire game, to the point where Isak at the end just walks past him. You know, how has that been allowed to happen when you've got a right back sat on the bench there? I mean, any player on the bench there I'll be bringing on, because Godfrey, his head's gone completely, and that was long before the game was gone there. Even at the end of the first half, after Joe Linton had gone past him, he was gone. He was an absolute passenger, and I was staggered he came back out after half time. You can bring on Patterson, you could have brought on Mina or Cody or Tom Davis, Les, to play it right back in that situation there. Like, anyone at that point is better. You could put a Wobie there, yeah. Like, to watch that lad just constantly get skinned over and over and over again, and for nothing to happen. I mean, I put on Twitter there, semi-jokingly, Keith, that's a sackable offence in itself, and, you know, probably being a bit too much there, but it's not far off.
I mean, the only decision, I think, that's worse than leaving him on the pitch was starting him there in the first place, because it was evidence 2 weeks ago at Fulham. Yep. He got torn inside out the whole game. He had a torrid time. I can't comment on the Palace game, because I luckily didn't watch a minute of it, because I was watching cricket instead, so I don't know if he played well or not. But
he didn't play.
Well, there you go. What? So, okay, so he's taken him out. The defence has been solid and got a clean sheet, and then he's brought him back in. Sack him tomorrow.
Holgate was banned.
Sack him tomorrow. Ben Godfrey is not a full back. as long as he's got a hole in his backside. Do you know what I mean? He's positionally, he's terrible. Tackling, he can't tackle. Unless he's throwing in one of those mad sliding tackles where it's a 50-50 that he's slightly favourite to get, he's great. But if he tries to stand a man up and the man runs at him, he can't tackle. I don't think he put his foot on the ball once. I think there was 2 or 3 occasions, first half alone, where one of the centre-backs had to come across and make a tackle after he'd been beaten. And you just think, why are you persisting with that? Why can't Sean Dyche see that he's being ripped apart? Why can't he see that he needs to change before bad things happen? Then he lets a bad thing happen. The first goal, obviously, Matt said to me before we got on the train, the only person in the ground that didn't know he was cutting back in on his right foot was Ben Godfrey. And I mean, yes, we're a bit unlucky. Pickford makes a good save, comes off Tarkowski and lands right at Wilson's feet. It's criminal. I think we lost that game before we even started tonight with that back four. The way he's played it. I mean, obviously you've got to play the 2 centre halves because they are the ones that are in the shirt, so to speak. They're not playing spectacularly well. But I mean, well, yeah, we can come on to that whether you bring Mina in or not. But we know the problems with Mina. You play Yerry Mina, you get 20 minutes out of him, and then he breaks down because his legs are made of balsa wood. But the picking Ben Godfrey at right back over Patterson, who has to be match fit now. He has to be. He's played minutes for Scotland. He played minutes for Everton. He's played starts for the under 21s, 23s, 27s, whatever they are now. I don't know. Play him. If you're not going to play him, then you've got what's his name in the youth setup, that young lad Mills, who's got the physical stature that Sean Dyche likes in a defender. Play him, because positionally he's a right full back.
To be honest, you could probably play Danny fucking Mills.
And then you look across the park and you look at Newcastle and they've got Kieran Trippier, who's one of the best fullbacks in the league. And you just think the gulf in those 2 teams today is absolutely horrific, isn't it?
I mean, I just went to see anyone else to speak to them. Everybody nodded. Matt, I'll come to you first.
So, I've got many thoughts I need to arrange in the right order here. First one to say that, Les said before about no fight. I thought the first half we did have fight. We won 11 tackles in that first half. To an extent, we were bullying them. And their only chance of the half resulted in a goal. Because, as Keith alluded to, Ben Godfrey got skinned. And that is now the 2nd consecutive game in which the manager has made a mistake at right back. Last week, it was leaving on Holgate when he was on a booking and getting ripped to pieces. And the inevitable happened. And we just clung on for the point. And then this week, it's starting a centre-half who has...
Carry on, just
checking the recording there. Centre-half who has, more often than not, played on the left-hand side of the back four. And starting him at right back instead of an actual full-time right back, because I can only surmise Sean Dyche doesn't fancy him. And this is an issue that we knew about Sean Dyche when he was appointed. He'll get ideas in his head about players, and he likes these ones, he doesn't like these ones. Sometimes you see the benefit of it, like say Michael Keane coming back in. Sometimes, like today, you see the downside. And the fact that it just seems like he just wants 4 players who are 6'10" along the back four, regardless of how they're getting targeted. And make no mistake, Ben Godfrey was targeted today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, they must have seen that 11 and just licked their lips and rubbed their hands with glee. And all through the game, I think 3 of the 4 goals come down that side. It was just constant, and I can't even be that angry at the lad himself. And to be honest, another mistake on the right hand side as well, and this is something we've seen. Actually, no, sorry, jumping back to Patterson as well. One of the few bright points of the first half of the season, I thought. Some of his performances were adequate to all right, which is high praise this season. But another issue on the right hand side was, since Dyche has come in, he's put Iwobi out there. And I love Iwobi to bits. I think he's been one of our players. I know he does. I think he's been one of our engines this season. Like we would be a distant 20th on 10 points if it weren't for some of his performances. But Dyche has come in and he's stuck him out. It's just that lazy thing about some Premier League managers. They see some players and go, "Oh, you're a winger." He's never a winger in a million years. He's a technical player who feeds the ball through the middle. And you see him, he got so many chances out, especially the first half, out there on the right-hand side. And he can't cross a ball to save his life. And he'd probably be the first person to stand up and say that. But he's there, he's just plugging away, he's trying, and they're flying over everyone, they're going out for throw-ins. At least make a substitution, bring Demarai Gray on for 20 minutes or so, and bring him back into the middle so he can actually, him and Decore can actually make something happen in the middle and be a bit of an engine. And it comes to bringing Gray on, they were 1-0 up and they still made 2 substitutions before we did.
Yeah. I was just trying to speak to the microphone, not drink your pint. But maybe you should drink your pint instead. It's that kind of night. Paul, how are you feeling, mate?
I'll be honest, Matt.
It's one of those nights. People are taking the phone off me and just speaking.
Yeah, it's. I think this is, like you said, and Les at the start, this is the lowest I've felt about Everton. Last season was bad. This was terrible tonight. It was absolutely abysmal. I think with looking at Godfrey tonight, me brother and I were watching him all night long, and every single attack came down his side. Ball was over his head each time. I didn't watch the Man United match in full a couple of weeks ago. My best mate was getting married, but I watched the first half in the pub, and it must have been about 4 or 5 times he was getting skinned. He's clearly being targeted tonight. How isn't Softies? He's seeing that, and they've played on him. And my real gripe today, and I'll be honest, Dyche, when he came in, I was all for it. I was all for his appointments because I believed at the time that's what Everton needed. We needed someone to come in, steady the ship and put their mark on this squad. And he's just, I think it reminds me of very early Moyes with his substitutions. He'd leave it until the 70th minute, and it took my brother and my dad, we were shouting for the sub to be made. When Newcastle were pressuring us at 1-0, we were fucking shouting for it then. And Newcastle go 2-0 up, and then you see Dyche turn round and he's gesturing to Patterson to take his bib off. It's just so predictable, it's so depressing. And Godfrey should never, I agree completely with Matt as well, Godfrey should never have started that game. And never mind all this, he should have been taken off. He should never have put that shirt on to begin with tonight. But I feel tonight for me, the key word for me for this night and throughout Everton's last 2 years at least is just inaction. Inaction in not addressing the clearly obvious problems that we had in January. Inaction in not removing this board because they are no longer fit for purpose. That's a separate conversation, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that before the season's over. Inaction from the manager in not removing Godfrey. And just seemingly tonight, we go a goal down, and Matt's spot on. There was fight there. It was very unlucky the way the ball fell to Wilson, but Godfrey's got to be dealing with that. For me, we're finally reaping what we've sown. It's, as we said before, you can only circle a drain for so long until gravity wins, and unfortunately tonight, I'll sum it up this way, and I've said it to the lads. Tonight was the first time in over 50 years of sport in Everton that my dad left the ground early, and that says it all for me. It's really fucking hurt me tonight, that watching that and seeing that for my dad.
Mick, the youngest here of the Everton crowd, how are you feeling, mate? Is there any hope after that, do you think?
I find it really hard to just talk or think about tonight's game because, you know, the likelihood is when Everton goes down, it won't be because of tonight. But what we saw tonight is just Everton in 2023, and everything that happened tonight, we deserve. Everything that has happened in the months and weeks before, we deserve. And everything that will probably happen in the next few weeks, we deserve as well. Obviously not us as fans, but as a football club, I mean, I've tweeted already that, you know, people like Bill Kenwright and Farhad Moshiri, they don't deserve to lock themselves out of another relegation fight like they did last season, because you know full well, first of all, in 12 months time we'll just be back here barring a miracle all over again, and second of all there will be some form of glorification about it all if we stay up, and part of me deep down believes that probably too optimistically that maybe going down can be the type of rejuvenation that this football club needs in terms of clearing out a certain amount of players and obviously the people in the boardroom.
Unless financially it just completely kills us off.
And there's also that probability as well, but I just find it so hard to just not think about the long-term future of Everton, but also the recent history as well, the catastrophic decisions that have been repeated so many times. The recruitment, it's just, we were talking about it a couple of weeks ago, the difference in the size from just 2 years ago. It's borderline, well, it is negligence, let's be honest. The recruitment, the general management, the desperation that's seeped into this football club over the past 18 months. It's just sad more than anything to being in the ground. And Les mentioned before the Park End, people leaving. I'm one of those who gets quite angry at people leaving quite early, especially when there's only like one goal in it. Like, you know, I grew up on David Moyes' football, and whilst, you know, there was an absolute ceiling to his football, there was also well, unless you were away at Anfield or Old Trafford, there was also that element that, you know, it doesn't matter what the scoreline is, you've got a chance of getting back into that game.
See that ceiling.
Yeah, exactly. And at least the floor was a lot higher as well. But like tonight, people leaving, it's just, you can't blame anyone. And I've also had a little bit of a gripe with like fans saying we've just not got the fight in it for the second half of the season. We can't do what we did last year, and I think we saw that tonight, that nobody has really. It doesn't matter how many fireworks you set off or how many. Yeah, exactly. You welcome about 400 coaches for all I care, and just keep them on the coach. May as well. But it's just a bit sad. But at the same time, it's like ultimately when you're one of the worst teams in the league and you don't do anything about it in successive transfer windows, then you deserve to go down, and I can't look beyond that, to be honest.
Yeah, just picking up what you said about the scenes last season. If something happens and we do end up surviving, and I think now it's like 1 in 5 chance, there won't be the scenes like last season. I wouldn't be surprised if them players celebrated survival in front of a half-empty stadium, because even if like we managed to scrape through, I don't think it'll be jubilation. I think people will just be anger, yeah, just livid that we've had to go through it again.
Yeah.
And if we do survive at this point, it looks like it will be a bit of a robbery. Like, it really does.
Cheating.
Not cheating, like just snide. Do you know what I mean? Like, whoever goes down at our expense, if we survive, they'll look at us and go like, you don't deserve that. You don't deserve it.
I said last week, with that slightly cans-in-fueled rant about Kenwright's letter, but I think I said in that, I said the difference between this season and last season feels very much like the difference between the 94 escape and the 98 escape, where 94 was jubilant and it was like, oh, right, this won't happen again. 4 years later it happened again, and there was a lot of anger. I think it will be exactly the same, but I think to pretty much everyone's point tonight, I can't see us doing it. And it's the first time I've ever thought that we genuinely just don't deserve to be in this division, because, as you said, Paul, it's years of mismanagement at every level of the club, and we just haven't got a place there at the minute. You just look at that team, and it's not good enough. I think it's clear now that last season the difference was Richarlison. The Athletics' Patrick Boylan has just walked in.
Hello, Rob.
Always a pleasure to see you, Paddy.
We'll get his thoughts in a second.
But yeah, I just think, you know, last season Richarlison definitely made the difference, and we've got no player who can make the difference like that. You know, we've potentially got Damari Gray there who can come on and make a difference. Maybe not at 3-0, but at some point in the game, and he brings, as you said before, and you know, he brings on Neil Moper. But we've gone over that ground already before. I just think, yeah, they've knocked the stuffing out of us. This team being this bad has knocked the stuffing out of the fans, and we can't go back to that last season because we've not got anything to pin our hopes on, because it's just a wretched bunch of players, wretched team, getting wretched results.
We touched on it a couple of weeks ago on the post-match after Fulham, and the overwhelming feeling is apathy. I don't like. There's anger as well. Everyone's angry at what we've become and what we've been allowed to become through the mismanagement and whatnot. But like Les and Mick have just touched on there, and there is apathy. Like, who can be bothered for the last 2 home games of the season, turning out and giving them what they got for the first half hour of that game there, again and again and again, and being rewarded with these performances? And I mean, like, all through last season, even when it looked its darkest, even when we lost at Burnley, when we were winning twice at Burnley and lost, and even after then, I could still see a way out of it. I didn't see it being the end of the road. I genuinely can't. I can't see a way that Everton get out of this situation. You look at the 5 games remaining: Leicester, City, Brighton, Wolves, Bournemouth. Realistically, we need to pick up 8 or 9 points from 5 games. You need at least 2 wins. Everton aren't winning 2 of those last 5 games. Because who are they beating out of those teams?
Look, that's Bournemouth, isn't it, last day? But like, even that's no. That's the thing about where we are. Is like, going into any game apart from Southampton at home now in this league, we are second favourites in every single one because the squad's so bad, and like we are probably the 19th best team in this league.
I'd struggle to fancy us against Southampton the way we're playing. We
were beaten by Nathan Jones at Southampton at home.
I mean, that was
great morning they had.
Lovely.
Well, I'm sad Mick's gone, because he sounded really upset there when he was doing his monologue, and I wanted to give him a hug before he went and just like tell him it's all going to be okay. But I can't. Do you know what? I don't even think I can tell people that anymore. I can't find any positivity in Everton anymore, and we've watched some dreadful Everton performances, come back to the pub and laughed and had a joke about it. I just feel like empty with it all now. I've got nothing left for Everton.
Can I inject some black humour? A couple of games ago, we were looking at the Bournemouth game as being like a survival shootout. Now it's just popped into my head. They might be on the beach. They might be dry and safe.
We might be down.
Yeah. We might be down,
Yeah, but how many times have Everton played a team on the last day of the season with nothing to play for and spewed it?
I will give a classic example of that. The league champions in 1985 lost 4-1 to Coventry on the last day of the season.
So even our greatest ever side couldn't do that.
Yeah.
That's tremendous lesing there, isn't it? Just
they were half.
Les Roberts out of nowhere.
Oh, I think they were probably still pissed after Rotterdam, but there you go.
Paddy Boylan is here. Just swanned in with his pint. How are you doing? How are you doing, mate? Can you offer us any crumbs of comfort after that? I mean, you're shaking your head already.
No, there were no crumbs of comfort in that. I thought the first, until Newcastle scored the first, I thought Everton shaded it, full of application, but never really looked that threatening. And then it was pretty much a mirror image to the Fulham game for me. But obviously Newcastle have got better players. I mean, it's hard to know where to start with deconstructing it all, but I think that the best place would be a fullback, where he continues. I'm sure you'll have spoken about this, but where he continues to do the same thing over and over again, makes the same mistakes, and the fourth goal in particular is completely embarrassing. And I know everyone's going to shine a spotlight on Isaac. Jacob Murphy. Who I don't even think's the good Murphy, brother.
I haven't seen it, and I have no plans to see it. Matt's trying to show me it, but I'm steadfastly refusing to look across the table.
It's the worst goal I've ever seen Everton concede. And there's a long list of bad goals.
I don't think it's quite as bad as the Brighton's fourth this year, but that I mean, it runs it close.
Is Brighton's fourth the one where Tarkovsky tries to headbutt the floor?
Yeah, it's where McNeil overplays the free kick. Idrissa Gueye forgets anyone else is on the pitch. But I mean, carry on, mate.
They go from looking, I'd say, relatively competent and relatively is doing an awful lot of heavy lifting there, to completely disintegrating in the space of 10-15 minutes. It's frightening. I mean, that could have been anything. It summed it up for me when it was a Char put in the fifth. It was then disallowed, but like nobody cared. Like by that point, it was so far gone. I think it was probably gone when Newcastle scored the first. In all honesty, that's the extent of Everton's issues at the moment. That's how far away Everton are from being able to get back into games. And we're looking for crumbs of comfort here. I can't find many at all.
At least Anthony Gordon didn't score.
There is that, but I've also seen a picture of Anthony Gordon with a big grin on his face when he was about to come on a 4-1 scoreline or 5-1
Did he come on, did he?
Apparently he came on. After everyone had gone home, he came on, so he didn't even get the abuse that he deserves. One crumb of comfort we do have is Matt's just showed us a vine of a dog. Is it a Vine? No, TikTok.
A reel.
I'm back in the day. I miss Vine. They took Vine away from us. What's that all about? Vine was the greatest platform that social media has ever created. We're digressing a little bit. My one crumb of comfort is no matter what league Everton are playing in, be it the Championship, be it League One if financial implosion does come about, be it the North West Counties League if we die and start again as AFC St Domingo.
It's like a 43-year-old Paul Mullen for the...
I'm going to trademark St Domingo FC, by the way.
Yeah, we'll still have the Denbigh Castle, and we'll still have our post-match chats over a pint, and that's the real quiz. Who wants to win football games anyway?
Would you still follow it? I'd probably just go for a nice walk somewhere.
Do you know what? I'd love it if Everton ceased to exist. That would be my break. That would be my point where I could go, right, that's it for me. Football is no longer a passing concern. I'm going to get properly into cricket.
I think for me, I think I've accepted relegation now, but from a very selfish personal point of view, it means me leaving my daughter for an extra night on a Tuesday and a Thursday night to go and watch them in the Championship, and I don't think I can do it. I genuinely... I've always said I'll follow them no matter where they are in the league, but I just don't feel like I can give them that time. I don't feel they deserve it, and I don't want to give them that fucking privilege. It's just so... It's so depressing, and I think even at 1-0 down today, I looked over at Matt and he gave me his little signal. We have this little ritual at our time. How are we doing, Matt? He'll show me a hand single, thumb up if we're going to win it. In between for the draw. He gave me a massive thumb up, and to be fair, I genuinely thought we'd get back into it. I thought even at 1-0 down, kicking towards the Gladys Street, I thought we'd get back in somehow.
Did you this evening?
This evening.
When Everton won 1-0 down, you thought they were going to come back?
I genuinely thought. I believe it was more hope. Let's say that.
1-0 down on half a yard from being 1-1.
Yeah, and
can't blame us for having hope.
I think when I watched Godfrey getting pegged back in that little 10-minute spell, something needed to change, and then it was 2-0. It was too late, and that's all she wrote. A point in hand for me though was with Newcastle, just out of interest, how long has Farhad Moshiri been at Everton for?
7 years now, is it, I think?
7 years, and the owners at Newcastle have been there for a year and a half. Yeah. They're about to qualify for the Champions League, and they have done in a year and a bit what we've tried and failed miserably to do in 7 years, and I think that's it.
No. No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We're going to leave that.
We're going to leave that one out. We'll come back to it after the podcast.
It's a stressful night, but let's not go there. Just a moment came up to me then in the first half, like just thinking about how bad our players are. We got a free kick on the edge of the box, and a Drissa Gay took it.
Do you know what? It wasn't a bad free kick. I think to be fair, it was set up for McNeil to take it and go for the near post, but they just before the free kick, they moved the wall across, like to cover a yard outside the post, so it was a no-go for the left footer. And honestly, who else are you letting hit? Do you know what? Actually, I'd have let Michael Keane hit it after his Spurs goal. Just run up Alan Stubb style and leather it at someone's face. Free kicks in football. We're going to digress again here because it's more fun than talking about Everton. Exactly. Free kicks in football. That's got to be worth a goal, that. Or at least a giant teddy bear. Right? Free kicks in football have become far too technical these days, and it's all about getting the curl on the ball, getting it up, getting it down. What happened to running up and simply smashing it as hard as you physically can at someone's face and hoping they like shit out and dive out the way?
Every team used to have a centre half who could do that, didn't they?
Leighton Baines at Newcastle.
Yeah, like every team used to have like a brick shit off centre back who would like. I mean, the last one I can remember used to do that was Alex for Chelsea.
A big old yard dog who can hit the ball faster than the speed of sound. Give me that again. Make football prehistoric again. Right? Give me proper massive shin pads. Footballs with laces. Muddy pitches. I miss like these grass pitches that are like playing on a snooker table. Get rid of them. Bring back muddy pitches.
You might get your wish soon. Give it 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Your dad's on the podcast here. Make football prehistoric again. Honestly.
Just on free kicks, can we all make a universal agreement? This draft exclude the technique. Just fuck it off. Yeah. It doesn't work. It's absolutely pointless. Just get rid.
This has turned into all your gripes off footy. Just bring them to the table, everybody. Yeah.
Why are our ball boys so shit?
They are really slow. Right?
That is a genuine.
I can't remember if we griped this the other week, but I'm going to gripe it again. When Everton get a set piece, an attacking set piece, and everyone gives it Everton, they do it too early because they're doing it just after the foul or just after the corner, and by the time they go to take it, everyone's just sat down again watching. There's no atmosphere. When they're taking the free kick is surely when you want everyone going Aggie.
It's all on the park end, that for me.
Yeah.
Hang on, it happens down the street end. Just speaking of the street end corners, that Alex Iwobi corner.
Oh my word!
What a belter that was.
Newcastle fans started singing "That's Why You're Going Down," and I actually think they might have had a point.
God, probably a good place to leave it. Keith, I asked you to prepare a sign off tonight. Have you got any comforting words for our listeners who are feeling very blue at this time?
We haven't had that here.
Do you know what? I had a great sign off sort of sketched out in my head, but it was for when Everton won 2-1, and clearly that didn't happen, and I didn't win my bet, so I don't have anything prepared. So I'll just ad-lib and say, look, at the end of the day, we're still going to be here. Some people might stop coming to watch Everton if they go down. I won't. I'll still plod on. I'll still spend time with my mates. I'll still enjoy the social side of it. It's 90 minutes out your week. It's a long old week. It's 7 days of 24 hours each, and you're basing your whole life around 90 minutes of that. I am. I'm going to go on to the theory of space next. Talking of space, that was Everton's back four when Newcastle were rampaging forward. Listen, it's not you. I live my life by 4 simple words. Did you die though? If you didn't die, it wasn't that bad. Up the toffees.